I kicked the door open without thinking, the force slamming it against the wall. My heart pounded like a war drum, fury boiling over. There she was, Brooke, wrapped in nothing but a thin white robe, her eyes wide with shock. And behind her, some half-naked dude scrambling to cover himself with a bedsheet. My fists clenched so tight my knuckles turned white. Brooke's face twisted into something between fear and annoyance, like I was the one ruining her night. "What the hell are you doing here?" she snapped, crossing her arms like she was actually mad at me. I didn't know whether to scream or laugh at the absurdity. "Are you serious right now? You told me you were out with Taylor. And here you are shacked up with some random dude." My voice broke, anger and betrayal seeping into every word. She rolled her eyes and scoffed, like I was being dramatic. "Maybe if you weren't so boring all the time, Ethan, I wouldn't have to find some real fun. Did you ever think of that?" she hissed, her tone dripping with contempt. I couldn't breathe. The reality hit me like a truck. My wife, the woman I loved and trusted, sneaking around behind my back and acting like I was the problem. My stomach twisted, and I had to fight the urge to lunge at the guy just standing there like a clueless idiot. "You disgust me," I whispered, barely able to hold back the fire burning inside me. Her lips curled into a mocking smile. "Maybe if you weren't such a pathetic little puppy, following me around like some lost cause, I wouldn't be stuck looking for something better." The audacity, the sheer arrogance, left me speechless. I looked at the guy, who seemed more confused than anything. He didn't even know my name, probably didn't even know I existed. I took a step back, fighting to keep my emotions in check. My mind raced with 1,000 questions, but one kept cutting through the chaos. How long had this been going on? Brooke just stood there, looking at me like I was dirt under her heel. Not a shred of guilt or remorse. I couldn't wrap my head around how someone could be so heartless, so cold and unfeeling. The woman I thought I knew was nothing but a stranger now. But this wasn't over. No, I wasn't just going to walk away with my heart shattered and my pride stomped on. She didn't get to play me like this and walk away unscathed. I leaned in close, so she could see the fire in my eyes. "You're gonna regret this, Brooke," I growled. "You're not the only one who knows how to play dirty." And with that, I turned and walked out, my heart pounding, my mind already plotting my next move. This wasn't just betrayal, it was war. As I stormed out of the hotel room, the bitter night air slapped me in the face like a wake-up call. My thoughts were a tangled mess of rage, betrayal, and a sickening sense of humiliation. I wanted to scream, to punch something, to let out the fury burning inside me. But I couldn't. I couldn't give her that satisfaction. Couldn't let her think she'd broken me. I leaned against the hood of my car, trying to catch my breath, trying to think. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and for a second, I considered throwing it against the wall. But I pulled it out, expecting some pathetic excuse from Brooke. Instead, it was a message from Taylor. "Hey, how's your night going? You and Brooke having fun?" My jaw tightened, and I could feel my pulse thundering in my ears. So Taylor had no idea. That confirmed one thing: Brooke had been lying to her too, using her as an alibi. The thought made my blood boil even hotter. I wanted to call Taylor right then and there, expose Brooke for the lying which she was. But something held me back. Not yet. Not before I had every piece of the puzzle. I couldn't go home. Not yet. Our house, our damn house that I paid for, was filled with memories that were now tainted, poisoned by her betrayal. I climbed into the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel so hard it felt like it would snap. How long had she been doing this? Was it just this one guy, or were there others? My stomach twisted at the thought, while rising in my throat. I started the car and drove without any clear destination. Just moving felt better than standing still. I needed to clear my head, to put distance between myself and that damned hotel. The city lights blurred as I sped down the highway, trying to make sense of the chaos in my mind. How could I have been so blind? Was I really that naive, that trusting? I thought we were happy, or at least, I thought she was happy. Memories assaulted me, each one tainted now that I knew the truth. Our anniversary last month when she had seemed so distant. Her sudden obsession with her phone, always texting someone and brushing it off as work stuff. The extra time at the gym, the new lingerie she claimed was just for me, but that I'd never even seen her wear. God, how could I have been so damn stupid? Eventually, I pulled into an empty parking lot behind a 24-hour diner. I just sat there, trying to breathe, to think, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw that smirk on her face. That twisted, cold expression that I'd never seen before tonight. It was like Brooke had ripped off a mask, revealing the vile, selfish creature underneath. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a call from her. I stared at the screen, my hands trembling. Part of me wanted to pick up, to scream at her, to demand answers. But I couldn't stomach hearing her voice, not now. I hit decline and threw the phone onto the passenger seat. After a few minutes of silence, the phone lit up again, a text. I didn't want to read it, didn't want to see her pathetic excuses or her fake apologies. But curiosity got the better of me, and I picked it up. We need to talk. It's not what you think. I almost laughed out loud. Not what I think. Did she really think I was that dumb? I'd seen it with my own eyes, the guy practically naked in our bed. She wasn't even sorry. Didn't even bother to deny it, just mocked me and called me boring. My chest tightened with fury, and I felt like I was about to explode. But suddenly, an idea struck me. What if I played it smart? What if I didn't confront her directly just yet? She thought I was weak, a pushover. That's why she felt so bold, so untouchable. But what if I made her think I didn't know? What if I collected proof so undeniable that even her twisted mind couldn't wiggle out of it? That way, I'd crush her completely. No pathetic excuses, no gaslighting, just cold, hard evidence. I glanced at the diner's neon sign glowing in the darkness and made up my mind. I needed a plan, a strategy. I wasn't just going to confront her and let her manipulate me with her lies. I was going to make her regret every filthy word she threw at me tonight. For the first time since storming out of that hotel room, a grim, determined calm washed over me. I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. Brooke wanted to play games? Fine. I'd play. But this time, I was setting the rules. I dialed Taylor's number, hoping she was still awake. After a few rings, she picked up, sounding cheerful and a bit tipsy. Hey, Ethan. What's up? She chirped. Hey, Taylor, I replied, keeping my voice as neutral as possible. Just checking in. Did Brooke get home yet? She said she was with you tonight. There was a pause. Huh? No, she didn't come out with me tonight. She said she wasn't feeling well and needed some alone time. Why is something wrong? My grip tightened on the phone. No, nothing. Just making sure. Thanks. I hung up before she could ask any more questions. The rage was back, stronger than ever. So Brooke had lied to both of us, keeping Taylor out of the loop while using her as a cover. Clever. Devious. Vile. I'd underestimated just how low she could go. But now I was done being the clueless husband. I was going to find out everything, every dirty secret she was hiding, and when the time was right, I'd make her world crumble. For now, I needed to plan carefully. I'd gather proof, track her movements, get phone records, whatever it took to expose her for the cheating which she really was. I wasn't just going to walk away humiliated. She was going to pay for every lie, every betrayal, and every second she thought she could make a fool out of me. I took a deep breath, wiping away the last traces of weakness. I wasn't a victim, I was a man on a mission. And Brooke had no idea just how badly she'd messed up. The sun was just beginning to rise when I finally pulled into my driveway. The world looked deceptively peaceful, as if nothing had changed, but inside, I was a storm waiting to unleash. Brooke's car wasn't there yet, which meant she was either still at the hotel or somewhere else, cleaning up the mess she'd made. I didn't care. Let her think I was still the same clueless husband. Let her think she had me wrapped around her finger. That's exactly what I needed. I sat in the car for a few more minutes, my mind racing with ideas. My first move had to be subtle. If I tipped her off too early, she'd just lie her way out of it, and I'd end up looking like the paranoid fool. No, I had to be smarter than that. I needed evidence, cold, undeniable proof that would crush her completely. I headed inside, forcing myself to act calm and collected. As I walked through the house, every little detail felt like a lie. The photos on the walls, the clothes hanging in our closet, even the scent of her perfume lingering in the air. My hand shook with suppressed rage, but I couldn't let it consume me yet. I had to stay focused. First, I grabbed my laptop and started digging. I knew I'd have to access her phone somehow. She always kept it locked with that stupid fingerprint scanner, but I'd seen her unlock it a million times. Just had to get it in my hands at the right moment. I checked our shared phone plan and pulled up the call and text records. There it was, hundreds of messages and calls to an unknown number, repeating every few days at all hours of the night. My stomach twisted, but I forced myself to keep reading, taking screenshots and saving the evidence to a folder on my desktop labeled Finances. No way was she getting half of my money after pulling this stunt. Next, I installed a tracker app on her phone remotely, one of those Find My Device apps we'd used when we first got our phones. She'd never even notice it running in the background. That way, I'd know exactly where she was going, every single time she slipped out of the house with some lame excuse. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. My body was tense, fueled by adrenaline and bitterness. Every second that ticked by felt like an hour, and my thoughts were a chaotic mess. I wanted to confront her, to throw all the evidence in her face and watch her crumble. But I couldn't, at least not yet. I needed to catch her in the act, preferably with that loser from the hotel. Then she couldn't talk her way out of it, couldn't twist my words or make me feel like I was crazy. It was almost 8 in the morning when Brooke finally walked through the door, looking disheveled and annoyed. She didn't even glance at me as she kicked off her heels and dumped her purse on the couch. I leaned casually against the kitchen counter, trying to keep my voice steady. "Late night?" I asked, barely glancing up from my coffee. She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "I was with Taylor. We ended up crashing at her place. I texted you." Lies. Another one to add to the pile. I just nodded, not pushing it, and took a slow sip of coffee. Let her think she was still in control. Let her feel safe. "You okay?" she asked, finally giving me a sideways glance. I forced a smile. "Yeah, just tired. Didn't sleep much." She shrugged, like it wasn't her problem, and wandered upstairs to the bedroom. I watched her go, resisting the urge to follow and scream at her. Not yet. Just a little longer. A few hours later, I was back on my laptop, combing through every bit of information I could find. Social media, message history, old emails, anything that might give me more ammunition. Then I saw it, an email from a week ago, buried under a bunch of promotional junk. A confirmation for a hotel reservation. Same place as last night. My heart sank, but I opened it and saved it to my folder. Another piece of evidence, solid and damning. The tracker app pinged my phone, alerting me that Brooke had left the house again. I checked the map and saw she was headed downtown, right toward the same hotel. Unbelievable. She wasn't even trying to be discreet. Did she think I was that blind? Or did she just not care anymore? I grabbed my jacket and slipped out, careful not to make any noise. I didn't follow directly. I knew the route she'd take and took a different one, making sure I wouldn't be spotted. As I got closer, I parked a block away and approached the hotel on foot, blending in with the few pedestrians milling around. Sure enough, her car was parked out front. I pulled out my phone and snapped a few pictures, just to make sure I had it documented. Then I saw her, Brooke, stepping out of the lobby arm in arm with that same guy from last night. He was laughing at something she said, and she was grinning like she didn't have a care in the world. My hands trembled with fury as I took more pictures, fighting the urge to storm over and rip him apart. But I couldn't. Not yet. I had to hold back and finish what I started. As they walked down the street, I followed at a distance, keeping my phone camera trained on them. They stopped at a small cafe, sitting at an outdoor table like some nauseatingly happy couple. Brooke leaned across and kissed him, right there, in public. My stomach clenched, but I kept filming, making sure every kiss, every touch was caught on camera. This was it. Proof. Enough to destroy her little fantasy and make sure she couldn't spin it into some ridiculous story later. I saved the video and sent it to my cloud, making sure it was safe and secure. As I walked back to my car, a dark satisfaction crept in. This was just the beginning. She wanted to play games? Fine. I'd show her exactly what happens when you mess with someone's heart and treat them like a fool. I wasn't going to just sit back and let her walk all over me. No. I was done being the weak, trusting husband. Brooke thought she had me under control, but she was dead wrong. Now it was my turn to play dirty. By the time I got home, I felt calmer, but that calm was laced with a dangerous edge. There was no turning back now. I was going to expose her for the lying, cheating which she was. My plan was already forming in my mind, sharp and ruthless. I went straight to my home office and opened my laptop. First, I compiled all the evidence I had so far, the hotel receipts, the video of her kissing that guy, the phone records showing dozens of late-night calls and messages. I organized it all neatly into a folder labeled Divorce Proof. I wasn't just gathering this for my own satisfaction. I wanted to make sure that when this all came crashing down on her, there wouldn't be a single loose end to exploit. Next, I did what I should have done a long time ago. I called my lawyer, Derek. We went to college together, and he'd always had my back. I knew he'd be brutally honest, which was exactly what I needed right now. The phone rang twice before he picked up. "Yo, Ethan. What's up, man?" "Hey, Derek," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Got a legal situation I need your help with." His tone immediately shifted, serious and attentive. "Talk to me." I hesitated for just a second before laying it all out. The affair, the evidence, the way Brooke had been lying through her teeth. Derek stayed silent through it all, letting me get it off my chest. When I finally finished, he sighed. Damn, man. I'm sorry. That's brutal, he said. You want to go for divorce right away? I clenched my jaw, considering it. Not yet. I want to gather more dirt first. I want her to have no way out. No lies, no manipulation. Just pure, cold truth. He let out a low whistle. All right. Here's what you do. Keep gathering evidence. Texts, videos, photos, anything you can get your hands on. Make sure it's undeniable. Once we've got enough, we'll hit her with the papers and make sure she gets nothing. I'll draft up the basic paperwork in the meantime. Got it, I replied. Thanks, man. Anytime. And Ethan, don't do anything reckless. Stay calm, keep your head. You don't want to give her any ammo to use against you. Yeah, I muttered, though staying calm was easier said than done. I hung up and leaned back, the exhaustion hitting me all at once. This whole mess had flipped my world upside down, but I was determined not to let it break me. Later that evening, Brooke came home, acting like nothing had happened. She barely looked at me, heading straight to the bathroom to take a shower. I sat on the couch, scrolling through my phone and pretending not to care. She needed to think I was oblivious, that I hadn't caught on to her dirty little secret. When she finally came downstairs, her hair still damp, I forced a smile. Everything okay? I asked, as if I was genuinely concerned. She nodded, giving me a quick glance. Yeah, just tired from work. It's been crazy lately. Lies. Everything out of her mouth was just more lies. I bit back my anger and forced myself to play along. You sure? You've been out a lot lately. Just wanted to make sure you're not overworking yourself. She gave me a forced smile, one that didn't reach her eyes. I'm fine. Just stressed. You worry too much. I didn't push it, knowing better than to break the illusion. Instead, I leaned back and switched the TV on, pretending to zone out. I could feel her watching me, probably wondering why I wasn't pressing her for details. Let her sweat a little. That night, while she was asleep, I slipped her phone from the nightstand and quietly unlocked it using her fingerprint while she was out cold. The message history was like a slap in the face. Dozens of texts with that guy, Mike. Flirty, dirty, completely disrespectful. She wasn't even trying to hide it, knowing I never went through her phone. I copied every single message, forwarding them to my own phone just in case she tried to delete them later. My hands were trembling with rage, but I stayed focused. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. Not after everything she'd done. Not after everything we'd built together. Then I saw the text to Taylor. My blood ran cold. She'd been lying to her, too, weaving some story about how I was distant, emotionally neglectful, and too wrapped up in my own world to notice her loneliness. Brooke had crafted this whole narrative to justify her cheating, painting herself as the victim and me as the neglectful husband. My jaw clenched so tight it hurt, but I kept copying the messages, determined to leave no stone unturned. I locked the phone and placed it back exactly where I'd found it before slipping back into bed. My mind raced with the weight of it all. She wasn't just cheating, she was building a story to make it my fault. Trying to make me look like the bad guy. I wouldn't let her succeed. I wouldn't let her drag me through the mud just to cover her own tracks. The next morning, I got up early and headed to work like nothing was wrong. I needed to act normal, keep her thinking she still had me fooled. That way, I could keep gathering evidence without raising suspicion. I set up a hidden camera in the living room, one in the bedroom, and one in the car, places where she'd most likely call or meet her side piece. If she was careless enough to bring him here, I'd catch them red-handed. Over the next few days, I watched and waited. Brooke continued to play her little game, acting all innocent and sweet when she was home, but slipping out whenever she thought I wasn't paying attention. I'd check the tracker every time, confirming she was back at that damn hotel. One evening, just as I was about to head to bed, I got a notification from the hidden camera app on my phone. My heart pounded as I opened the feed. There she was, Brooke, talking on the phone in the living room. I turned up the volume, barely breathing. She was giggling, twirling her hair like some lovesick teenager. Yeah, he's still clueless. I swear, he's so pathetic sometimes. I just need to get my hands on his bank info, and then we're set. Trust me, once I clean him out, we're golden. My vision blurred with pure, blinding rage. She wasn't just cheating, she was planning to rob me blind and leave me in the dust. I felt like I was about to explode, but I forced myself to stay calm. This was it. This was all I needed. Proof of her infidelity, proof of her intentions, and proof of her lies. I took a deep breath, knowing that the time had finally come. She thought she could ruin me, but she had no idea just how badly she'd underestimated me. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was war. I didn't sleep that night. Adrenaline coursed through my veins like fire, keeping me wired and restless. I kept replaying Brooke's words in my mind, how she called me pathetic, how she planned to wipe me out financially. I couldn't let that happen. No way. After hours of pacing and planning, I knew exactly what needed to be done. I wasn't just going to expose her for the cheating, lying which she was. I was going to hit her where it hurt the most. Her pride. I wanted to see that smug, arrogant look wiped clean off her face. I wanted to crush her so thoroughly that she'd have no way to recover. First things first, I needed to make her think she still had control. I needed her to feel secure, cocky, confident that I hadn't caught on. That meant I had to act completely normal. Pretend that nothing had changed. That morning, I made breakfast just like I always did, scrambled eggs and toast. When she came downstairs, she barely acknowledged me, just muttered a half-hearted morning before grabbing her coffee. I gave her a casual smile. Morning, babe. You sleep okay? She shrugged, too busy scrolling through her phone to even look at me. Yeah, you. Like a rock. I lied. Hey, I was thinking we should go out this weekend. Maybe hit up that new seafood place downtown. That caught her attention. She glanced up with a raised eyebrow. Why? You never want to go out. I shrugged nonchalantly. Just thought it'd be nice to do something together. You've seemed stressed lately. Her eyes narrowed for just a second before she plastered on a fake smile. Sure. Sounds good. I nodded, keeping my tone light. Cool. I'll make reservations. As soon as she left for work, which I knew damn well wasn't real, I sprang into action. I contacted Derek and filled him in on the new development, including the video where she openly admitted to wanting to clean me out. He was all in, promising to draft up paperwork that would leave her with nothing. Next, I needed to lay the groundwork for the final blow. I transferred most of the money from our joint account into a separate account under my name, one she had no access to. I left just enough in the joint account to keep her from getting suspicious. If she tried to take me for everything, she'd be in for a nasty surprise. I also changed the passwords on all my important accounts, banking, social media, emails, locking everything down tight. I wasn't about to let her get her hands on anything valuable. I wasn't going to be her ticket to a carefree, luxury life with that piece of trash she'd been running around with. Over the next few days, I kept my routine as normal as possible. I even pretended to be extra affectionate, making her think I was clueless and desperate for her attention. The more I laid it on, the more she seemed to get cocky, texting that loser right in front of me, grinning like she had me on a leash. It was disgusting, but I held my ground. Then, just as planned, I put the final phase into motion. I texted Taylor and asked her to meet up, playing it cool and saying I needed some advice. She agreed, probably curious as to why I'd suddenly reached out to her. When we met at a local coffee shop, she seemed genuinely concerned. Hey, Ethan, you doing okay? You seem off, she said, sipping her latte. I gave her a small, forced smile. Yeah, I just needed someone to talk to. I've been feeling like Brooke's been distant lately, and I just wanted to know if she said anything to you. Taylor frowned, looking genuinely confused. No. She hasn't mentioned anything. I thought you guys were fine. I hesitated, playing the part of the worried husband. She's been out a lot, saying she's with you. Just wanted to make sure, you know, that everything's okay. Her eyes widened, and I saw the realization hit her. Wait, what? She hasn't been with me. At least, not in weeks. She's been saying she's working late. Bingo. I sighed, letting my shoulders slump. I knew it. I didn't want to believe it, but something's not right. Taylor's expression shifted from confusion to anger. Are you saying she's lying to both of us? That witch. I gave her a sad, defeated nod. Yeah, I just don't know what to do. I love her, but... Taylor reached across the table and put a hand on mine. Ethan, you deserve better than that. If she's messing around, you have every right to call her out on it. I looked at her, letting a hint of pain show in my eyes. Would you help me? I just need someone to back me up when I confront her. I need her to know I'm not crazy. Taylor's face hardened with determination. Absolutely. I can't believe she's been dragging me into her lies. I'll back you up, whatever you need. Perfect. I just secured an ally without even tipping my hand. I knew Taylor was genuinely angry at Brooke for making her an unknowing accomplice. She wouldn't defend her now, she was just as betrayed as I was. That night, I waited patiently for Brooke to come home, going through the motions of our routine. I acted like nothing was wrong, giving her no reason to suspect anything. As she brushed past me to go upstairs, I forced a smile. You know, I was thinking about how we met the other day, I said, trying to sound sentimental. You remember that night at Jasper's party? She froze for a second, but quickly recovered, giving me a fake, sweet smile. Yeah, those were good times. I swallowed my disgust. I'm glad we're still good, I added softly. Sometimes I worry I'm not enough for you. She just shrugged, not even bothering to reassure me. I could feel the hate simmering under my skin, but I didn't let it show. Let her think she was still in control. Let her believe she'd won. The trap was set. I just needed one final move, the confrontation, with Taylor there to witness it all. Once Brooke tried to lie her way out, I'd drop every piece of evidence in front of her, expose her manipulations, and watch her crumble. She wanted to destroy me, but she had no idea she'd set herself up for complete and utter annihilation. The day had finally come. I had everything set up, every piece of evidence prepared, and every single plan in place. The hardest part was keeping my face neutral around Brooke, acting like I was still the same clueless, devoted husband while inside I was a seething volcano of betrayal and hate. I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to dismantle her entire web of lies in one swift, brutal blow. That evening, I told Brooke I had made reservations at the new seafood place downtown. She barely seemed interested, scrolling through her phone with that distant, careless look on her face. She threw on a dress, one I'd never seen before, and didn't bother to ask my opinion. Not that it mattered. I knew exactly what I was about to do, and it would be worth every agonizing second of pretending. I texted Taylor and told her to meet us at the restaurant, saying it was a surprise. She agreed, sounding genuinely happy that I was doing something nice for Brooke. I almost felt sorry for her. She was about to find out the truth, and it would crush her just as much as it had crushed me. But I needed her there. I needed a witness who would see Brooke's lies for what they were. As we drove to the restaurant, Brooke was quiet, barely acknowledging me. It was almost laughable how comfortable she had gotten with lying right to my face. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white, but I didn't let her see my anger. Not yet. When we arrived, Taylor was already waiting outside, looking a bit confused. Brooke gave her a quick, fake smile. Oh, didn't know you'd be here. Taylor looked between us. Ethan said it would be fun to catch up together. Thought it was sweet. Brooke's face flickered with annoyance, but she quickly masked it with another fake smile. Yeah, totally. We got a table, and I made sure Brooke was seated between us, no escape. I ordered wine, pretending to be in a celebratory mood, while Brooke sat there, tapping her phone under the table like she couldn't care less about being present. Taylor was chatting, oblivious to the tension crackling in the air. Once the drinks arrived, I leaned back, swirling mine lazily, and finally looked Brooke dead in the eyes. So, I started, keeping my tone deceptively casual. I was cleaning out the car the other day, and I found something interesting. A hotel receipt. Brooke froze, just for a second, but then quickly recovered with a scoff. Seriously, Ethan? You're going through my stuff now? Taylor raised an eyebrow. Hotel? What hotel? I ignored Brooke's glare and looked directly at Taylor. Funny thing is, it wasn't from any work trip or girls' night out. It was from that hotel downtown, the one Brooke's been spending every Wednesday night at. Taylor's face fell, confusion turning to disbelief. Wait, what? Brooke's jaw clenched, but she kept up the act. You're being paranoid again, Ethan. I told you. I've been working late. You're just looking for problems where there aren't any. I leaned forward, my voice low and controlled. Working late? Huh? You mean at that hotel with Mike? Or should I call him by his full name, Michael Rivers? Brooke's face drained of color, but she still tried to hold her ground. You're insane. You don't know what you're talking about. Taylor looked shocked. Brooke, who's Mike? You told me Ethan was being distant and neglecting you, that he was the problem. What's going on? I smirked, feeling the power shift in the room. Neglecting you? That's rich. You've been lying to both of us, using Taylor as an alibi while you sneak off to screw some loser behind my back. Brooke slammed her hand on the table, her face twisted in anger. Stop it. You're embarrassing me. No, you embarrassed yourself. I shot back, my tone sharper than a knife. You thought I wouldn't find out? You thought I'd just keep being your stupid, oblivious husband while you made me look like a fool. She opened her mouth to fire back, but I wasn't done. I pulled out my phone and played the video, the one where she was on the phone, telling Mike she planned to wipe me out financially. Her face paled, and Taylor's jaw dropped. Oh my God, Taylor whispered, looking at Brooke with pure disgust. You lied to me. You used me. You're cheating on Ethan and trying to rob him. Brooke's face twisted with desperation. It's not what you think. He's just... I cut her off, slamming my hand on the table. Save it. I've got everything: texts, phone calls, videos. You thought you could ruin me and get away with it? You thought you could play me like an idiot and walk off with half of everything I own? Guess what, Brooke? You're getting nothing. The money's already out of the joint account. You're not getting a damn cent. Her mouth hung open, shock and fear flickering in her eyes. I felt a grim satisfaction watching her crumble, her cocky demeanor finally cracking. You're pathetic, Taylor snapped, standing up and pointing a finger at Brooke. You always acted like you were better than everyone else, but you're just a selfish, lying witch. Don't ever speak to me again. Brooke tried to reach for Taylor, but she pulled back, repulsed. Then Brooke turned to me, her tone shifting to pleading. Ethan, please. I was confused. I made a mistake. I didn't mean. I stood up, cutting her off with a glare that could shatter glass. You don't get to talk your way out of this. You don't get to manipulate me anymore. You're done. I'm done with you. Get your stuff out of the house by tomorrow, or I'll have the locks changed and your crap thrown on the lawn. You can go shack up with Mike. See how long he puts up with your games. Brooke's face crumpled, tears finally spilling over, but I didn't care. I didn't feel sympathy. I didn't feel anything for her anymore. I glanced at Taylor, giving her a nod of thanks before walking out of the restaurant. The cold air outside felt like freedom, cutting through the remnants of my rage and leaving me feeling lighter than I had in weeks. It was over. The lies, the betrayal, the constant feeling of being second best. I wasn't going to let her break me. I was going to rebuild, stronger and smarter, without her poison dragging me down. As I got into my car and drove away, I felt a sense of triumph wash over me. I'd taken back control, exposed her for the lying which she was, and finally stood up for myself. No more games. No more manipulation. Brooke was out of my life for good, and I was going to make damn sure it stayed that way. The cold night air hit me like a slap in the face as I walked out of the restaurant, but I didn't stop moving. I needed space, needed to clear my head. I could still hear Brooke's desperate, pitiful sobbing in my mind, and I felt nothing but disgust. Not just with her, but with myself, for putting up with her lies for so long. I got into my car and just sat there, gripping the steering wheel with white-knuckled intensity. 1,000 thoughts collided in my mind, but one kept floating to the surface. It was finally over. The constant suspicion, the uneasy feeling every time she went out, the way I had to convince myself that I was just being paranoid, it was all done. I'd shattered her perfect little illusion, and I wasn't looking back. My phone buzzed, and I glanced at the screen. It was Taylor. Ethan, are you okay? I'm so sorry. I had no idea. She played us both. I hesitated before replying, not wanting to seem too bitter. Not your fault. She had us both fooled. Thanks for having my back. The dots danced on the screen for a moment before she replied. I'm here if you need to talk. I feel horrible for not seeing it sooner. I didn't blame her. Brooke was a master manipulator, and she'd been playing both sides from the start. I typed back a quick thanks and tossed the phone onto the passenger seat. I couldn't deal with sympathy right now. I just needed to be alone, away from everyone. I drove for a while, not really heading anywhere specific. Just driving, letting the night swallow me up while I tried to process everything. Eventually, I found myself parked at the edge of a beach, the same beach where Brooke and I had our first date. The irony didn't escape me, and a bitter laugh escaped my lips. How had I been so blind? How did I let myself fall for someone so ruthless and selfish? I sat there, staring at the dark waves crashing against the shore, feeling a strange mix of sadness and relief. The sadness was for the life I thought I had, the future I'd been planning with someone who turned out to be a monster. The relief was because I was free now. No more lies. No more feeling like I was going crazy. I thought back to the moment I had walked into that hotel room, the way she looked at me with such disdain, as if I were the problem, as if I deserved it. The memory fueled my anger, but instead of drowning in it, I let it sharpen my resolve. I wasn't going to be the broken man she wanted me to be. I wasn't going to let her destroy my life. It was almost midnight when I finally drove back to the house. I half expected to see her car in the driveway, but it wasn't there. Good. I needed time to get her crap packed up and ready to go. I wasn't going to let her linger and manipulate me into forgiving her. She'd already shown me who she was, and I believed it. I headed inside, the house eerily quiet without her chaotic presence. I grabbed a few boxes from the garage and started loading up her things: clothes, shoes, makeup, random junk she left lying around. Every item felt like another lie being thrown in my face, but I pushed through it. I wasn't keeping anything that reminded me of her. The more I packed, the more determined I became. I wanted her out of my life entirely, no traces left behind. Just as I was sealing the last box, I heard a car pull up. I froze, every muscle tensing. Moments later, the door swung open, and Brooke stumbled in, her face tear-streaked and mascara running down her cheeks. She looked like a wreck, but I didn't feel the slightest bit sorry for her. She glanced around, noticing the boxes stacked in the hallway. Her eyes widened in panic. "Ethan, what are you doing?" I didn't bother looking at her. "Packing your stuff." I meant what I said. "You're out by tomorrow." Her hands trembled as she reached out toward me, but I took a step back, refusing to let her get close. "Please, Ethan," she choked out, voice cracking. "We can work through this. It was just a mistake." I was confused. I didn't mean to hurt you. I let out a humorless laugh. Confused? Confused about what? Whether to screw that guy in our bed or his. Whether to lie to my face or to Taylor's. Which part of it were you confused about, Brooke? She sobbed harder, trying to wipe her face with trembling hands. I was lonely. You were always so busy with work. I needed attention, and he gave it to me. I made a mistake. Please. I cut her off with a glare. Don't you dare blame this on me. I busted my ass to give us a good life, to make sure you never had to worry about anything. You chose to lie. You chose to cheat. You chose to use me. So don't stand there and play the victim. She collapsed onto the floor, crying into her hands. It would have been pathetic if it weren't so infuriating. I didn't care about her tears anymore. They were just part of her manipulation, a last-ditch effort to make me feel guilty. "Tomorrow," I repeated, my voice cold and unyielding. "Get your things and get out. I've already filed the paperwork. You're not getting a dime. If you try to fight it, I'll make sure every single piece of evidence gets dragged through court. Your little boyfriend won't look so hot when it's all out in the open." Her eyes snapped up, terror replacing the fake sadness. She knew I wasn't bluffing. I could see the defeat settling into her shoulders as she realized her game was over. Without another word, she got up and shuffled into the guest room, slamming the door behind her. I stayed in the living room, feeling strangely calm despite the chaos of the past few days. I'd done it. I'd taken back control. Brooke's hold on me was broken, and I wasn't going to waste another second feeling sorry for myself. I was better off without her. The next morning, she was gone, along with the boxes I'd packed. I didn't bother looking out the window as she drove away. I didn't care where she went or who she ran to. She was nothing to me now. Just a bad memory that I was determined to forget. I sat down on the couch, took a deep breath, and let the silence wash over me. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was mine. And now that she was out of it, I could finally start over. For the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of peace. I wasn't a fool anymore. I wasn't weak or broken. I was just free. And that was worth everything. The days that followed felt like stepping out of a dark, suffocating tunnel and finally breathing fresh air. I didn't hear from Brooke, and I didn't bother reaching out. Part of me half expected her to come crawling back, begging for another chance or trying to twist the story to make me the villain. But she didn't. Maybe she knew it was pointless. Maybe she finally realized that she'd burned the last bridge she'd ever have with me. I spent the next week clearing out every trace of her from the house. Her clothes, her makeup, her pictures, everything went into trash bags or got boxed up and dropped at Goodwill. It was cathartic, almost like purging a sickness from my life. The house felt different once it was finally just mine again, quieter, calmer, and, in some strange way, more alive. I changed the locks on the doors, not wanting her to have any access to my place. I didn't want to risk her showing up when I wasn't around, trying to snake her way back into my life or make a mess out of spite. I had Derek file the divorce papers and send them to her address, wherever that was now. I didn't care. All I knew was that it was finally official. Brooke and I were done, and there was no coming back from this. Surprisingly, Taylor stayed in touch. She called me a few days after the restaurant fiasco, sounding hesitant but genuinely worried. "Hey, Ethan. I just wanted to check on you. How are you holding up?" she asked cautiously. I didn't want to sound bitter, but I also didn't feel like sugarcoating it. "I'm surviving," I admitted. "It still feels surreal sometimes. Like I'm just waiting to wake up from a bad dream." She sighed softly. "I can't believe she did that to you. Or to me. I feel so stupid for believing her lies. I trusted her, you know?" I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. "We both did. It's not your fault, Taylor. She was just that good at deceiving people." There was a pause before she spoke again, her voice softer. "I've been thinking, maybe we could get together sometime. Just as friends. I don't want you to feel like you're going through this alone." I hesitated. Part of me wanted to shut everyone out and deal with this on my own. But another part of me, the part that craved normalcy and a bit of human connection, knew that isolating myself wasn't the answer. Yeah, I finally said. That sounds good. I could use the company. We made plans to meet at a quiet little coffee shop in town the following weekend. It wasn't a date. Neither of us wanted to rush into anything. But it felt good to know that I wasn't completely alone in this mess. The weekend came quickly, and when I walked into the cafe, I saw Taylor waiting at a corner table, nursing a latte. She gave me a small, tentative smile as I approached. Hey, she greeted me, her tone soft but warm. Hey, I replied, sitting across from her. For a moment, there was a bit of awkward silence, but then she spoke up. You look better than I expected. I let out a short laugh. Thanks, I guess. I feel better too. Got a lot of her crap out of the house, changed the locks, filed the papers. It's weirdly liberating. Taylor nodded, sympathy in her eyes. You did the right thing, Ethan. You deserve better than that. I appreciated her saying that, but it still stung a bit to hear. I wasn't completely over it. There were nights when I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'd missed all the red flags, wondering how I'd let myself get fooled for so long. But sitting there with Taylor, I realized that blaming myself wasn't going to change anything. The fault was on Brooke. She was the one who made those choices, not me. We ended up talking for hours, not just about Brooke, but about life, work, and everything in between. It felt good to just be normal again, to have a conversation without worrying about lies and betrayal. By the end of it, I was actually smiling, a real, genuine smile that I hadn't felt in weeks. As we walked out together, Taylor hesitated before speaking. Look, I know you're probably not ready to think about it yet, but if you ever want to just hang out, or vent, or whatever, I'm here. You don't have to go through this alone. I appreciated her offer more than I could put into words. Thanks, Taylor. That means a lot. Really. We parted ways with a casual hug, and I felt lighter than I had in a long time. Maybe it was the closure. Maybe it was the realization that I could rebuild from this mess. But for the first time since that night at the hotel, I felt hopeful. Over the next few weeks, I focused on myself, working out more, cooking my own meals, and just enjoying the solitude without feeling lonely. I reconnected with old friends I'd drifted apart from during my relationship with Brooke, and to my surprise, they welcomed me back with open arms. It felt like I was reclaiming parts of my life that I hadn't realized I'd lost. One evening, as I sat on the back porch with a beer, watching the sun dip below the horizon, I realized something important. Brooke didn't break me. Sure, she shattered my trust and tore apart the life I thought we had, but I survived. I fought through the hurt and came out stronger. When Derek called to let me know the divorce had been finalized and Brooke hadn't contested it, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. It was finally over, the nightmare, the betrayal, the suffocating sense of betrayal. I could move forward now, free from the toxic grip she once had on my life. A few days later, I got a text from Taylor, just checking in and asking if I wanted to grab a drink sometime. I found myself smiling as I typed back a quick, sure. Maybe it wasn't love. Maybe I wasn't ready for that yet. But it was a start. A new chapter. I raised my beer to the fading sky and took a long, satisfying drink. This was it, the end of one story and the beginning of another. I wasn't sure what the future held, but I knew one thing for certain. I'd never let anyone take advantage of me like that again. I was done being the nice guy, the trusting fool. From now on, I'd live for myself, making my own happiness a priority. No more toxic people, no more lies, and no more settling for less than I deserved. It was time to take back my life, one step at a time.